Hey guys, today's story is from Today I Effed Up, where a guy picks up a hitchhiker and ends up at his own funeral. This happened a few years ago, and I was living in Zimbabwe at the time, and I was having a pretty bad day. I was going to see my aunt, who lived about 40 kilometers away from me. If you're African, you'll understand that this was no small journey. So I got in my car and set off, and about 3 hours into the journey, I came across a dude by the side of the road who was going in the same direction. So out of the goodness of my heart, I said, "Jump in." We got to talking, and he happened to be going to the exact same village as me, and he knew my auntie. After an hour passes, and we're making polite chit-chat and reminiscing about old times in Zimbabwe. Then, all of a sudden, he tells me to pull over. So I do. He runs out of the car and starts making retching noises, so I assume he's throwing up. It's dark at this point, so I can't really see much, so I go check on him. That was my first mistake. I get out and go to his side, expecting him to be there, but he's not. Then I hear someone behind me, and before I knew it, I'm unconscious. So I wake up a couple of hours later. I know this because the sun was coming up at this point, without my car, clothes, or wallet. So I'm thinking, great. I look around and see I'm on some farmland wearing the guy's clothes. So I start walking in no particular direction and eventually come across a settlement. I explain to them my situation, and they tell me that the nearest main road is at least a good half a day walk from where I am currently, and they don't get many cars coming through this part. I start walking in the direction they point me in, and after what felt like forever, I came across a road, so I pitched up and started waiting. I didn't have my phone with me, and don't have the best memory, so I couldn't call anyone, so this was my only option. After a couple of hours, a car stops and lets me hitch. I let him know the situation, and he says we're in the complete opposite direction of my intended destination, but he's willing to drop me close enough to walk the rest of the way, to which I thought, great. It takes a good 2 days to get there, and he drops me off, and I say my goodbyes to my driver. I take down his number so I can repay him later on. At this point, I'm starting to recognize my surroundings. I walk for a few miles, and as I'm getting closer to my aunt's, I can hear lots of singing, and what appears to be a large crowd, which I thought was strange. I'm about 100 feet from the house, and I see my son, which, again, I thought was strange, because he was meant to be in school at this time. But instead of running to me and hugging me as he normally does, he runs away screaming, to my complete bewilderment. I get to the gate, and all of a sudden the large crowd, alerted by my son's screams, had stopped singing and stood silent. My wife appeared and started to run towards me, hugging and kissing me, like I've been gone for months. My auntie appears and immediately faints when she sees me. I still have no clue what's going on at this point, and I'm exhausted, so we rush to get my auntie inside, and I see my picture on top of a large box that resembles a coffin sitting in the living room. So it turns out that the guy who robbed me and made off with my car, my wallet, and all my clothes was in a car crash so bad that they couldn't identify the body, and because the only things they could use to identify him was my wallet, they assumed it was me that had died in the crash. Since there was no body of sorts, they were able to arrange the funeral pretty quickly, and that's what I had stumbled upon. My son still has nightmares to this day, and my wife has told me never to pick up a hitchhiker ever again. The next story is about a person who completely messes up a movie scene with Jennifer Aniston. I had plans to meet up with some friends in Atlantic City for the weekend. I got a late start, so they were already gambling somewhere in the Taj Mahal. I had been there once before, but didn't really remember the layout, except for a long escalator that led down to the casino from the lobby. I parked my car and walked quickly from the parking deck to the lobby. On my way to the lobby, there was a crowd of people gathered behind a security guard who was holding some caution tape across the hallway. He let a bunch of people in, and of course, I squeezed through as he was closing it off. That is where things went sideways. I saw a film camera in the lobby and thought, they must be filming a commercial for the casino or something. Wonder if I'll be in it. But before I could finish that thought, everyone around me in the entire lobby froze in position. A second later, someone yells, "Action!" I start walking alongside a person who was next to me and asked him quietly, "I'm not supposed to be here, am I?" He immediately shook his head no. So I see the escalator to the casino about 20 feet away, and the two extras are about to get on it. I think to myself, if I can just get on that, it would be my escape from ruining whatever they're doing in the lobby. I make a move, get on the escalator, and start taking a few steps down. Success! I didn't screw anything up. After a few more steps, I caught up to those two people who got on the escalator before me, and they were blocking the full width and not walking. I mean, come on. Only at this point, I see the boom microphone, the camera panning down with them, and the crowd of 150 spectators at the bottom of the escalator. Then someone yells, "Cut!" and the two people in front of me turn around. Turns out those two jerks blocking the escalator were Jennifer Aniston and Gerard Butler, and I completely blew up their scene. There was nothing I could do. I just said, I'm sorry. I figured there was no point in explaining my series of bad decisions. Butler laughed, and we completed the rest of the very long escalator ride in awkward silence. Hope you guys enjoyed those stories, and I'll see you tomorrow.